soon. I'm not the MC or anything. I'm just introducing the MC. Everybody here, it's a slightly smaller crowd than usual for a variety of reasons. So most of you know me, but I'm Kevin Williams. I'm the publisher at Talonbooks. So maybe there's more people in the live stream because we have a lot of people from out of town. And so I'd like to thank all the Talon stakeholders, which are numerous, you know, authors and readers and all kinds of people, booksellers, not to mention numerous government bodies that help support Talon. So thanks to all of them. And yeah, thanks to the Talon, the very, very hardworking, diligent, smart, intelligent, skilled, well-educated Talon staff who are willing to work for us. I mean, it's a total blessing. And they do fantastic work, and I don't know how in this day and age we'd be able to replace them, but anyway, we're very happy to have them. I won't introduce them all by name, but we have a designer, we have a production manager, we have editors, we have my son Spencer works with us, my wife Vicky is the co-owner, she works with us. So we have Aaron, so we have a lot of people on board. So yeah, that takes care of some of the thank yous. And I learned maybe back in 2010 or 9, somewhere back then when we bought the press, you know what, Kevin? Don't MC these events. You're not a poet. Get the poets to do it. So that's what I do. And most of our poets have cycled through and been kind enough to MC these events for us. And tonight we have a returning MC, Danielle LaFrance. I'm not going to read her full bio, but this first line is magnificent, so I'm going to read this one. Danielle LaFrance is a poet and information malprofessional. I think that really sums it up. Her upcoming book in spring 2026 is Verbal Violence. So malprofessional verbal, she's writing about verbal violence. She is not the violent one, but anyway, information malprofessional. She is, that will be her 4th book with Talon. We did Friendly Fire, we did Just Like I Like It, and we did Post Dildo. So that 4th book, Verbal Violence, is coming out in spring 2026. She has lots of other stuff in her bio, but a little, I heard today on the grapevine that she wasn't going to read bios today. So I thought, wow, magnificent. I'm not going to read hers either. But I think, I mean, the last time, not to put any pressure on her, she did a really, really marvelous job of introducing all these books. So with a little bit of further ado, Danielle LaFrance.
How are we doing? Good. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you so much for not reading my bio. There's nothing worse than sitting through one's bio, so I'm not doing that tonight. Yeah, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for inviting me back to host. I will say, in the spring, we were in this space for the first time, and I might have had like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 glasses of the free wine. You should help yourself to that. And I beelined it to Kevin, and I said, we're not doing Pyatt Hall anymore. We're gonna stay here. That other place is too, what we were saying is like, the other place is too fancy, and this place is dramatic. Perfect. And I said I would host. and then I got an email from Aaron saying, oh, thank you, Danielle, so much for agreeing to host. And I was like, what? And then I remembered that I had volunteered myself. So you got me. We're gathered on colonized lands. Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people are the rightful occupants of this land. This territory was seized and settled, and it continues to be unceded and occupied and stolen by the Canadian state and its settler citizens. I want to draw attention, I know a lot of folks probably already know about this in the news, I want to draw attention to Mitswa Sin Agnew, Cree Dene, member of Salt River First Nation, and Dr. Susan Shush of Statliam, member of Lakalmel First Nation, who joined the recent Freedom Flotilla Coalition of Gaza. Their flotilla was called Conscience. These Indigenous women participated to deliver humanitarian aid and show solidarity with the Palestinian people, drawing parallels between the impacts of colonization in both contexts. So I just want to say how it can feel so incredibly maddening to repeat Free Palestine, to repeat Land Back, but we repeat until repetition is disarmed towards continual rupture. And we have to do everything we can to reject the reproduction of settler colonial logic, and we have to actively decolonize the spaces that we reside in and within. And we should especially be looking at our comforts and detach from them in order to be better revolutionaries. We're all here to invite new poetry books into a brutal world. It can be difficult to capture the feelings in poetry, and I don't begrudge anybody for preferring not to do that. I recently listened to the words of Syrian poet Faraj Beiraktar. He was in prison for 14 years in Damascus in the Palestinian division, and he wrote in abundance while imprisoned, and he wrote about his cell. So I'm going to share this quote from him. "Poetry is what made me withstand the conditions in prison and challenge it. The importance of poetry is in its imagination. The most important element in the imagination for me is in reality poetry. You cannot imprison imagination. Physically, they can arrest me and control me, but my imagination cannot be arrested. I said before that poetry is the most beautiful bird of freedom for me. In other words, poetry is the extreme exercise of freedom. Thus, it was impossible for them to arrest my spirit or imagination and lock it in a prison. The sharpest weapon is writing poetry." So I listened to Faraj, and it really changed my some of my maybe disparaging feelings about poetry and poetry communities over the years. So to this end, taking Faraj's words seriously, may we not give up on the necessity of poetry to free imaginations, our hearts, our souls, and our ragings. So I've had the chance to spend a good couple weeks with new works by Ryan, Drew, Scott, Rahat, and Bill. And I'm not reading bios. So I'm going to be offering some impressions of these works. So we're going to be starting off with Ryan, and then Drew. We're going to stop for about a 10-minute intermission, and then we'll continue on. So I'm going to start with Ryan, my buddy. So I was reminded, I think Ryan forgot, and that's okay, because I'm here to remember things for others. So I'm reminded of Ryan and I, so this is in 2019, and we were making a playlist in my living room titled "You're Looking at Country," featuring Loretta Lynn's Fifth City, Linda Ronstadt in Atlanta in 1977, and the Pet Shop Boys' Always on My Mind cover was on there as well. And I remember us lamenting about how quick people are to disregard country music. People all love all music, but they hate country and they hate hip hop, which is a very obviously white, classist, racist attitude. But they don't mind rock music because that was stolen too. And I stole that line from a friend. So today, we're in the presence of the timestamp of this book, October 24th. The poet in drag as a cowboy, taking long drags of their cigarette while not selecting what's for radio play on side A and what's of less consequence on side B. The cowboy drags on, and I cannot feel at home in this world no more. The life of a cowboy is a saga of moral dilemmas wherein the rigid conventions of law are stretched against the complexities of all kinds of settling. And I was reading No Depression in Heaven at Latana, and a friend popped by and she looked at the title and just said, I want to go there. Ryan.
I'm gonna fake a grip on that old gospel ship, extract a scar across the sky. I'm gonna shit out brinks till heaven sinks as I surge this world's goodbye. I've leveraged circling to total everything. All your debts with me you'll square. I'm gonna make a line that only knows to rise till we're bailing out the air. I'm gonna crack my whip on that new condo strip. I'm renovicting all the sky. I'm gonna cry critique till heaven tweaks our mistakes until they're crime. It takes finance's taste to bite into the waste of spending's time in prayer. And when that ship inflates, I'll leave this world with haste as our failure costs the air. Somewhere along the line, information became as traditional as anything else. So fiddles down, boys. Let's take a nap and figure out how to slip like a fish slides off the coast's new intercontinental microplastic fantasia. Opposites defend one on another in slow places as curational as low friends lowing the class drawbridge vibe check to the last awful Amarillo, its road cued to the sevens roped back from the low-paced lope of the high-value scoot. And soon they'll carry stimulation away, wreathed in elegy as a treat for rodeo-ready hearts not here for the roiling hillbilly spycraft of wall-tearing nostalgia. I heard a lukewarm payment in the winds of a low-stakes carry that hammers this land all over when being easy ain't easy's scale-side poured ship dynamic played over plate hammered into full Bugatti manscavation lying poised for the ripened purchase moment. Cost on the range, where the dear anti-hope in a place coped by small incremental stat buffs like how many secret presidential sub-basements back love's basic marquee promise to build back the price of each little ply. Do you take this data to be your bedded blight? Repro man and his cool aught, lowing both headlights by and by word, by and by, risk replacement where repacement, knowing when to fold and when to fold meant the held hand of intimacy, threw me as dice, tossed against plywood girded against replacement. If my bailed swap squares off with pride's smashed oaky king-making, the lonesome whip wheels road and trail to rent teardrop nexting, outscrolled and outsung, until the next gambler falls, his bus ad projecting love for the fratty, spur-sidling, grave-robbed man of urns by no urns, sting and explode. If I took one and replaced it with another's front porch sea-seeing, a swap that I'd love. One thing Daddy made, a juridical pyramid scheme midlining the dollar's flat-faced anxiety. Its lateral bubble shooting Reno just to watch. Would it slot fire its F-150 feed until 100 Laredos bloom? This tune is not my tone, it's just a mass in blue. My complaints and my copes are all beyond the true, where every idling engine has all jawed on so bored, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. O'er my landed globe, there is no fountain there. Its spouts don't St. Victoria while singeing everywhere. I swing the oathsome smears over the words I floor when I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh, him, you know, I trend no trail like you. If real estate's my home, landlord, what should I do? An angling stake of street in heaven's open pour, where I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Ever surveying ease, that's one rope I'll throw across the fix with Jesus so the growth won't slow. History passed through even though I locked the door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Here's where I would stop and I would explain the book to you. But I think instead of doing that, I'm going to do a different, like a country music thing, which is to kind of, I want to like introduce the band. This is like my excuse to say thanks for the book existing. So thank you, Danielle, for your wonderful intro and for the other ones you're going to read later after this. Thank you. So I want to thank Kevin and Vicky and Spencer for taking the wild risk on not just this book, but poetry in general, and also for giving me a job. I have the unique experience of being a Talon author while also working there. Thank you to Darren, our production manager, for keeping the wheels running on that end. Thank you to Aaron Kirsch, who has done a bang-up job helping me with my tour. But if you're watching on a live stream and you're in Toronto, and you got somewhere for me to stay, please get in contact with me or Aaron. And then I want to thank Katrina Strang, who's my coworker, but also was the editor on this book, for, as I joke in the book, for spending all her Canopy tickets to watch Ken Burns' country music documentary with me, but also for helping me work out like the shape of the thing. And thanks to Les Smith for, I think Katrina and I were trying to talk Les into learning how to embroider, so we could have so I could walk out here in like a full nudie suit that would also be on the cover of the book, but Les went another direction, and I really love the cover. If you look at it, I would encourage you to go and look at all the books and, buy some of them. But it's the silhouette of a cowboy, and in the kind of in the cowboy's heart is heavenly clouds, but also the Dust Bowl, which speaks to kind of not the drag aesthetics of country music, but the kind of apocalypticism at the heart of it. So I'm gonna, now that that's done, let me play another one for you. Oh, synapse circle, now don't you cry for me, no heaven in depression, or an auto playing reel. For boats back to then are bailing, for these are latter days, we know. The white flight of mood-shaping soundtracks, doom looping the news. The constant need for daily trends swept lost doom into their billions. The aesthetic sweep of demographic shifts made my radio disrespectful. Too few feelings for pop market research. My radio made me impatient. It's so tough to pay attention to the world of lusty fame. How could I wrong the almighty dollar, splicing the 8-track back into itself? When did information get so personal? Wayland fiddle riffs or round-in errors filed under race records. Depression used to be a historical event. Roy Rogers picking peaches in a labor camp, privatizing all the dust in the air, a weary hand brushing away the coal tilled like the donation box. No one loves a hobo, privatized like a sad autonomy. Recession itself is retconned, always stumping back to something. Minnie Pearl for George Wallace, Loretta Lynn for George Bush. Good morning, Mr. Ford. How's your engine running? How's your campaign faring? To fashion the square dance. A little assembly line making America old-timey again. A culture so white needs a billionaire king. He can break it down, if you know what I mean. Fiddle's useful in a fight. Fire on the mountain, water down below, never get to heaven unless you jump credit scores. There I go again, erasing racial animus. When in the 1870s we'd sing Jump Jim Crow, corked up on the Chiron composing worried songs about our composition. Fuck or die, reports the New York Times. They're replacing us, reports Reddit Chud. The medium is just the wrong size, like when radio is great-great-grandfathered in, I call it a slop-on-slop transformation. The fantasy cosplay of the Confederacy, where the lyrics don't dream of reinstating slavery. But they don't not dream of reinstating slavery, just rematerializing the fantasy it sprung from. Carry me back to old Virginia, my old Kentucky home, Dixieland delight, if the South would have won, etc., 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 etc. Hank Jr.'s rowdy friends settling in, not down. Sunset as economic value. David Allan Coe's mail order service. Penthouse double-wide truck cab punditry. Jason Aldean's Sunset Town. Feelin' about no feelin', refrained in the bandwidth worth of a Stetson in the middle eight. No feelin' in mistaking yourself. A carnival of violation, noodle, and tradition. A note slips behind its face, a note and its subsequent correction, dragging me back into the Zoom meeting. Quick bait and despair of the lays bag, ballad of the weary layman, laying in bed by force. Folk rock's take on alienated labor. Robin Pecknold singing about picking peaches in a labor camp. Some sunny historical fantasy, a dire desire to watch the bridges that were burning. I didn't choose this aesthetic. I'm everyone who ever chose this aesthetic. And evidence mounts denial, far as my eye can see, for I retweet Alabama with an iPhone on my knee. This is the last one. Come trad glory, when profit is over, I'll fly away to my family's high palatial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh Boeing, I'll fly away. Ere I link, hallelujah, fix to fix, I'll fly away. Just a few more bleary deals and then I'll fly away to the stars where history can't reach. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away past the morning, up a line, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Thank you.
I think we should give it up for Ryan one more time, please. A tour is not so straight, not so straightforward. The guide might be unreliable, and we as followers mimic the unreliability of their steps through time, steps through a room upon rooms upon rooms. It doesn't matter, the unreliability. The tour is a new fractal experience. Following Levinas, Drew McEwen's tours variously is a relief from ontology, from what a subject can do once they have been thrown into the world. Tours variously pursues a possibility that goes beyond conventional notions of meaning, providing us with a way of many to pursue how that subject was constituted before they fell to make themselves anew. And I read Drew's book once, twice, 3 times, and each time became something different, my impression and myself. Thank you, Drew. Please come.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. I'm so excited to be here and to be launching this book with all of you and with Talon. I've said to a number of people in this room that as long as I've been writing this book. The first, or maybe second or third, but the first I want to mention poem that I ever published was called Room Building, a 1-page poem about just a room and a building in kind of an abstract sense. And it was published in Dandelion magazine in about 2008. And some of the words and DNA is in this book. And it's been written and rewritten many times. So it's so nice to be here and to, finally be sharing it. Thank you to everyone at Talon for being such an incredible help and so supportive and understanding through this process. And I really, really appreciate it. It's so lovely. And thank you to Kit McNeil, my partner and the artist who did this cover. And I'm so lucky to have found someone who's also interested in staring at walls and corners. Okay, they're embarrassed now. So welcome to the tour. A tour variously. I brace an entryway within a room. You frame the performance of a beginning. I replace a corner, an association of walls. You untouch a past, scan a dispersal, a line, a span, a room's weight buttressed against irreconcilable walls. Alive to yourselves, you might distribute natural spaces, built bodies. To depart augurs a wager, surety and echoes into austerity. As I step and you step behind me, notice comfort, notice discomfort. You are neither. I guide regardless. Who among you has visited these 4 walls before? Raise your hand. Dust accumulation, a categorical process. Let bodies bolster, automated doors, whispered returns. We tour a gallery, a museum, a surgery theater, a classroom, a forest, a psych ward, a construction site, a poem. Here you will make mistakes. Were a pattern to emerge, it would be a mistake. To make mistakes organizes an unwanted pattern. The phrase, here you will make mistakes, mistakes my message in favor of an agreeable circumvention. As I root through the poem, the mistake envisions me a new body, new hair, limbs reaching. Eventually I will ask, what was taken from you? What did you take? My madness is the madness of sequence. Performance provides the promise of closure. You might already imagine leaving, moving on with your day. Outside this sentence, weather portions the sky. To begin a tour again somewhere else threatens to build new rooms, new buildings. I rehearse a remarkable occurrence, my witness unsaid. Alone, I step into questioning, move into explanation. The guide is merely the one who follows the tour first. I exhibit rehearsal. I have seen this face before. Together you will notice how the cracks in the glass created anew in your noticing. Did you speak before the tour began? Did you claim a posture of response? A voice might change. From a distance, a voice may appear to change. I see the face of another and recognize a name. Support structures an unequal encounter. You're always on the wrong foot, I might say. Come closer and see. Remember is always an absence, the truth value of becoming that falters. In question, only my skin, glancing touches. And in truth, you visited only ghosts, frames of our possible convergence. I pose words above pinned specimens. Nothing moves you to permit asymmetry. Utterance, a flesh and bone matter, an exterior view, and the reorganization of exclusion. I've done this all before, differently. Upon a pedestal, a figure stands in gesture. If I speak of you and I as two, it is because I imagine an amalgam. Are you fatigued? A body might be made of many parts. To hold a posture becomes a labor of enactment. You and I both collect parts of ourselves that fail disguise. Have I known the archives of ascent? Have I built my walls too soon? I must have passed the threshold of concrete lineaments. I move you on, rehearse an interrogative, reflective glance, until someone whispers, exits open outward. I labor to speak as distance mistakes duration. I, who has begun to transition under your viewership. I balance my haptic belonging, an arrangement of limbs to indicate a possession. Every effort has been made to restore the tour to its original state. The tour builds its failure into the silences of my patter. I, anew, an affecting display. My actions begin to exceed room's limits, in dialogue perpetual. I account for a narrative self in question. Behind each wall, an archive of ill at ease. I will never meet you again. Labeled jars line wire racks, specimens of an implication. You need not worry, I will never meet you again. My voice initiates the collapse of maps optimism, the ornament of haphazard ruins that you and I tour. I recollect the horizon and its dispersal, an accumulative identity serves adequately, an ornamental shade, a deflection. You who constitute affinity among fabrics affect the threshold of mutual enclosure. Each sentence's failure graphs the following exhibit. I fray at the edges of each tour sentence, an unvoiced sound held by vocalic seams. Passing mirrors, I recognize a former absence. Once unspoken operations reinterpreted through a conflicted individual multitude. Unable to wait now. When will exit signs accumulate a vitalism of my escape? Who responds to the mirror and its ever-increasing absence? You and I tour but my echo. As you look towards exits, you begin to construct yourselves in the past tense of the poem's touring. I begin to overlap tours as an elaboration of a self anew. Descent, or another spiraling metaphor. Betrayal, were I to impose an autobiographical backwards glance. As you traverse rooms, you will notice and forget to notice. Parallel lines that gesture outwards towards a natural conclusion. Shelf life of a monologue in motion. You open your eyes towards a burgeoning light, permissive or an offstage rebuttal, a patterned object in multiple coordinates of your waning gaze. As you enter this room, remember exhibitions past. You and I who have been through so much, or rather, so many. Baroque permutations curate exhibition schedule, my time disorders and disorders. When you emerge into a new world, you will rebuild the tour again to explain how you were born fully grown. Traced in outline, you might recognize your habits as the static sculptures of another's attention. I, long gone, then cannot and will not catalog this elapse again. My emptiness affixes tour's ultimatum as an identity, though I have moved past those roped off spaces. Thank you in advance for letting me go. Perhaps, though, I've become enamored with a posture. I might offer an apology in lieu of the next step, begotten accordances, gift shop condolences. A proposal now, forget the tour. Abandon the poem to the past, wager a future unprecedented. Who might you be now? As you depart to renew the cycle, I reread your faces and remember. In a gaze of admission of soft tissue, you may destroy me now. I am not she who toured before. Hope you enjoyed the tour.
Thank you so much, Drew. This is our time for intermission. It's a time to move our bodies, to do a little pee, to eat some sandwiches, to drink some wine, and to buy some books. The books are at the back. Maybe there's a deal if you buy all the books. Maybe there isn't. Maybe there should be. You should talk to Aaron and Kevin. See you in 10 minutes. I would love. Where's the? Aha, it works. Please sit. I beg of you. So there's another presence in the room. We have online listeners with us as well. And we have Scott Jackshaw, who is attending virtually. So Stigmata is Scott's book. It's been a while, if ever, since I've read a book where my experience of reading was fully, wholly of the body, ushered away from body as concept, and rather like straight to the pus-filled pathways, the hole, the dick hole, the butthole. We're in the gushy guts of a poem, not the self. Fuck off with the self-centered confessional shit on the pulpit. I'm reminded of David Cronenberg's recent film, The Shroud. Has anybody seen this film? No? You should. I mean, everybody hated it, but you can entertain it. And the film, it examines the loss of David's wife, and there were a number of poor reviews of this film, and a lot of the issues that people found were with the obsession over this kind of like possession of limbs, of parts of his wife's body. And in my opinion, it's an honest portrait of an experience of grief, where what once one had access to, one no longer has. I think it's a reasonable desire to want to have that arm back, that dick, that hole. And Scott very much taps into this similar kind of experience for me as a reader, this grief narrative. So please welcome Scott.
Hi, sorry I can't be with you all in person tonight. Sorry I can't be with you all in person. Thank you for letting me crash the party from afar. Thank you for letting me crash the party. Thank you to everyone at Talonbooks, and especially to Ryan Fitzpatrick and Katrina Strang. I'm just going to read two poems from Stigmata. I'm just going to read two. The first is a nice short one called Benediction. The first is and the second is not a nice short one and the second called 95 Theses in the Body. This is Benediction. This is Benediction. I surrendered to sweat every form that was abhorrent to me. Every form fever stains on my mattress, the yellow in my towels, the rusted shirts I couldn't bear. I embellished their volumes, their surfaces. Who could say whether they'd become an atmosphere, an edema, a flooded street? None of this could be verified. None of this. And there arose a great sewage in my body from which no leak could save me. I prayed to my melting God, dissolve this architecture of relation, and restore vulgar feeling to everywhere hygiene has sterilized it. I was such a wide city with such wide sewers. There were no chunks, no suspended things. The blood in my stool indexed a great unrest, afloat in the toilet's umber, a great fear of drowning, a great fear of touch. Following the curvature of my gut, the swerve of my tubular passage, I had turned shitless, as a bruise, a pressing sore. Gone loose in the runoff, I built great rubble to honor its impermanence. It resembled fountains. And this next poem, a little bit longer, is called 95 Theses on the Body. When we said intimacy, we willed the entire life of the body to be one of confinement. This word that cannot be understood is referring to the sacrament of being that is its emulsion. But it does not mean touch. It can't touch you. A spear breaks skin, taps accumulated fluid in the membrane surrounding the lungs and drains an atrium. The smaller the love, the greater the fear. At once blood and water come out. The blood and water contain our most private correspondences. I collect them in glass vials and circulate them through the storm drains on your block. We neither desire nor are able to remit any bodies except those imposed by our own language. I worship ignorantly. I can't find you anywhere. Are you hungry? When did you last eat? We give ourselves thick, each with the residue of the other. When we give ourselves thick to the non-locality of fuckings, but we correlate only below the waist. Blood is not life, but the living subject is such. Blood is this endless, unbroken unrest of welling force. In former times, we imposed bodies not after, but before gender as tests of contrition. My rib, my pituitary gland, my ear. In the city's urinary tract, where I first became conscious of my continuities, the suspended bridge that resembles the spine, this remnant smear, that is to say, my desire for imprecision, intimacy that didn't reduce to authenticity, sound that didn't reduce to voice, dysphoria that didn't reduce to body, to say nothing of other things. My rib, my pituitary gland, my ear seem to differ the same as this overpass, this underpass, this median. Then there was a spill that disclosed the accident of embodiment. Then there was a spill that widened our exposure. Then there was a spill where skin washed away. Then there was a spill that washed you away. I wish I'd carried you. I carry you there. I carry you with me. I wanted to nurture a lesion with you because I only understood this integrated relation. I wanted a blood under the body, in its mouth, in its mouth, in its mouth, through which we couched in endless prepositions our approach to God. Its blood under the body. If we couldn't speak it, if we were left there, if there had been no breath in common, if we counted the forms, if you had been the gift, if you had been innumerable. Injury is done to the body when in the same poem more time is devoted to the self than to its guts. I am not sure whether all leaking souls wish to be saved. I am not sure of the malignancy of gender, much less its remission. No one lays hands with impunity on such fearsome abstractions as the existent and the non-existent. Slowly upon touching them, the blood congeals. I'm sorry about the mess. I'm sorry about the symptoms of the mess. I'm not sure he loves me like a hormone. Every method opened to us, every spirit appeared to us, every scripture without lungs. Was I sick with him? As a child, I watched my knuckles dry and crack through sermons, then smeared them onto envelopes meant for tithes. I hid these envelopes only to return and note their shifts from deep red to brown. Was I sick with him? Once the skin on my rightmost knuckle buckled, then split, the meat broke open. The woman to my left covered her eyes, the man to my right spit my blood from his mouth. My knuckle spray reached 10 vertical feet. I twisted my hand. The beam knocked a family from their pew. It was the rhetoric of our gore. We were ideological in our filth. Was I sick with you? When I couldn't find your body, I wrote a book to replace it. I wanted to mourn you while you were living. I wanted to mourn you. I shall not eat anything with blood. I shall not make any cuttings in my flesh for the dead, nor print any marks. My gender was a stomach, which is a mode of self-governance. It was hungry. It consumed all relation. Its digestion was an apology. I puked for days. The carpet was an ocean. I know never again will objects be solidly determined. My rib, my pituitary gland, my ear. My pituitary gland. I hold, to curled anatomy. Sometimes there is a current of meat in its mouth, in its mouth, in its mouth, in its mouth, in its mouth. So it will be as if I never loved you. So it will be as if I never. If we couldn't speak it, if it were elastic, if it were incontinent, if it were the glazed belly, if it had no interior, if we had loved surface and after surface had we gone, if it were stretched, if it were not a mouth, if it were mouthed, if it were not a mouth. I have you recorded in my phone. I isolate scraps of your voice. I splice them into sentences that might retrieve or invent a memory. You can say anything. There can be your care. There can be your brutality. I can hold the fullness of your intimacy in the sound. But there are too many of you I didn't expect to be frightened. Where you teach me weak theories of love. Where you teach me transformation without justice. Where you teach me its aftermaths. Where you teach me prayer as a practice of edging. Where you teach me its mouthing. You teach me the salivary reel. Where you begin to resemble the thin film over my tongue. You thicken, you harden, you embed yourself in my soft palate. I study your presence there. I drool until our boundaries are translucent. Already I'm inducing in myself a gender that is hairless and greedy for detachment. This is a gloss on rage, a relentless assertion of my relation to you. It sounds like this. We go and spit, we go beneath your tongue, we go slipping with, so we rage, we muffled with longing. I remember he was wearing a gray hoodie that was like most of his hoodies. I remember keeping very still and very quiet when he stopped moving so I could hear his breath. I remember I could smell his sweat. Despite your best efforts, I'm still slick with you. Then we're bound to make bare nerve endings. We being raked, there is the liquid man. There is your appearance in deleted nudes. There isn't any horizontality. There is the form being found. There is a hole. Let him who speaks be anathema and accursed. Let him who speaks be blessed and collapsed. Where is the interplay of ducts? Where are the secretions? Where are the translations? What is left uninterpreted in the economy of fluids is given over to God. As if I have killed him, we say, even his whole. On the contrary, we say it. We've been a skin on his surface. So we forgive you. You're so hot. You're so reciprocal. You're so holy. You're so mucosal. You're so submissive. You're so nutritious. You're so cruel. You're so immiscible. I will discharge it for you. I will emit it in sap for you. In my final dream, I love him again. We're in the city, but geographical specificity works against me here, so I won't explain further. If we have regrets, we don't speak them. We don't speak at all. Language and location become accessory. For that interval of rest, for that creeping sore of stain, we will have to answer for you. I want to go where the biological and historical are not consecutive, where they are desires' most extreme collisions. I want to go where a sphincter is not a mouth, where there are no teeth in the brain, no striations in the meat, no folds in the palms. I've looked everywhere. I've consulted with every partition, every rivulet, every deep zipper. They don't know how to rebuild you. They all want a gentler topology. I wanted to tender in you. I wanted to plant churches in you. I wanted to buy you a milkshake like the one I bought you after your first death. You couldn't drink it then. You wore 2 scarves. Your neck had been in flour. Behold a rib. Behold an ear. Behold a pituitary gland. Behold a hunger to that gland. I come quickly. I come to the city looking. I found your smallest and fastest intestine. I found your survivorship bias. I found your imprint in my unwashed sheets. I'm sorry if I digested you. I didn't mean to digest you. Away then with all those prophets who say peace, 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 and there is no peace. Blessed be all those prophets who say cross, 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 and there is no cross. In its mouth, in its mouth, in its mouth. I want an unstained liver. I want a damaged finger. I want a loose and dreamy relation with my belly. I want to go where there is weeping for the body, where there is mercy for the body, where there are no names for the body. Thank you. Thank you.
love that book so much. About a month ago, myself, Jane Shee, and Brendan Witt were offered a chance to embody the words of Zuleyha, as she has been channeled through the words of Rahat Kurd. Zurd. Zuleyha has been treated as a cautionary figure, a sinner, an adulteress. She sounds fun, right? An unnamed figure, the property of her husband. There is an abundance of myth-making from the 15th century onwards through the poetry of Jami and Renaissance paintings. In the book of Zed, Rahat uses epistolary forms and almost this art criticism lens to assess these myths, to criticize these myths, maybe or maybe not set the story straight. Squeeze citrus all over them like a wound to leave us on a note of sweet talk, flirtation, the ghazal. Please welcome Rahat.
Wow, I just feel so fortunate to be in this company and this marvelous celebration, this book launch. Just so fortunate to be in the company of these incredible poets, just like reverberating with the reading that Scott Jack Shaw just gave. Thank you to the Talonbooks family. Congratulations to my fellow authors launching their books here today. And thank you so much to Katrina Strang, my editor, and the team, the designer, Aaron, the communications manager who organized so many of my events this fall. I'm going to read tonight from an ekphrastic section roughly in the middle of the book of Zed. And it's called Zuleyha Surveys Her Art History. And this section begins with an epigraph from the novel My Name is Red by Orhan Pamuk. It was published, I think, a couple of decades ago. I think it's from 2004. Suddenly it seemed to me that the entire world was like a palace with countless rooms whose doors opened into one another. We were able to pass from one room to the next only by exercising our memories and imaginations. But most of us, in our laziness, rarely exercised these capacities and forever remained in the same room. This is the image, Herat, that this first poem is based on this image, Herat, 1488. If anguish keeps you listening too long for coursers of destruction, drop inside a while. Inside is the place where you'll find what it takes to remake the world. Gamal al-Din brings forth the palace he imagined I, Zuleyha, would commission to prepare for the arrival of the paradise he knew was coming for me. Not the one in my head as I ran after Yusuf, but a variation one of my poets must have told him about. Paradise as event, not destination. Reward manifest for the long patience we all know I have yet to cultivate, painted only a handful of years after Jami completed his epic, when no art could be replicated except by replicating in extremis the pains taken by the first artist. To the blaze of color on the page, Kamal al-Din applies nothing less than the spirit of Herat, teaching novices the art of slow looking, for which so many declared they'd be honored to end their lives in blindness. Why must my painters take their notions of honor so literally? Palatial geometry at once lays open Bizad's world and confines it. Enchantment made miniature, exquisite surfeit secured, as if the master of the royal Persian atelier, hearing thunder reverberate, resolved to sneak the pearl of Khorasan past the next 500 years of marauders, just to slake a future's parched imaginations, shimmering, beckoning, blueprint for the repair of a world. Bukhara, circa 1525. In Bukhara's discerning eye, I take my measure. Every scribe of Sadi imagines desire brings me to my knees, but I love how we're composed. Every tactful apprentice marks out delicate frames and boxes to keep the poet's lines from overwhelming what the artist really wants. Locked doors of lapis lazuli might yield to Yusuf in another second. Doors of jade open to twilight where laws of symmetry give way to enchantment. Still, I love how we're composed. Our raised arms, a movement and a subtle echo, a rhyme and a faint refrain. His bright face, unreliable narrator, turned towards mine. My fingers gripped insistent upon his wrist, let slip the secret, the painter's on my side. For the next 1,000 years, every woman will covet that green coat. It could still happen. You never know. That girl might win who refuses to let go. Amsterdam, 1634. At the first glance, can we get the, here we go. At the first glance, my eyelids drop shut. I can't help it. My biggest influencers, those gaze-lowering Muslims, even the iconoclasts among them. To be seen anywhere east of the Atlantic with this Mrs. Potiphar would undo their patient and loving restorative work, redouble my scandal, bring it roaring back to life. I look again, reluctantly. The artist gives out the story in his own vernacular. No fiery gold coronet, no halo marking heaven's favor, as if to say the sons of prophets may be found even in his own city. Their labor-hewn bodies, their plaintive gestures emit God's radiance too. If only it weren't so hard on the eyes. Joseph's revulsion, his hand throwing an omen of unforgiveness on the wife of Potiphar's sleeve, her torso condemned by the nightdress hitched above it. Then the inviting softness, Rembrandt gives the shadowed bed, that old idea, a friendly, hinting dark. Oh, Europe, couldn't you have stayed home in it? Mrs. Potiphar's yearning, more naked than her flesh, more palpable than the lines that barely suggest her face. As if secretly Rembrandt thinks he would have closed the drapes and comforted her. As if towards her he only feels tenderness, Could anything ever make us admit, my ummah, my ahle kitab, with all our scriptures so full of the word, how few of us can claim to know life under the gaze of such compassion? Paris, 1876. Sensitive lithographer Auguste Racinet pays homage to unknown artists of Hindustan who painted me first. Their work does not survive, to stave off the sense of loss, I imagine them as children, demanding their ayahs tell the story again, not sparing the simple frankness of the woman desiring the beautiful man, not sparing how the women let slip the sharp blades into soft palms and wrists, so love of Yusuf stings them too with a citrus twist. Meticulous Auguste, marking leaf by dark green leaf into a slab of stone, until his tree of heaven covers the marble pavilion, his coral inlay echoed in our hair ornaments, his hand-knotted roses at our feet. Discreet fountain splashes and mists as if rehearsing in whispers, my tearful remorse to come. Inna Rabbi Ghafurur Rahim. Auguste, did your centuries' Egyptomania leave you cold? To all who now delight in your world, I'll play Indian princess forever, intricately adorned, stepping into a courtyard like a jewel box, where my ladies await their first sight of a sun in his bright coronet, a sun in his green sleeves. Everyone still exults in the way I took care of it when I said, let's pare this matter down to the bone. I've set out trays of oranges, sharpened the blades, making sure my guests want for nothing. I'm avid to see their mouths fall open, to hear astonishment clatter the knives. Kashmir Jannat Nazir, 1776. I'm just going to read part 3 of this sequence. I let imagination arch my back. My hands clutch at knotted silk belonging. I'm guilty even now, with my mind on the brink of going to pieces. I ask the bleeding piece of earth to stay whole for me. I let imagination rest my arms as if cushioned by stories of flight narrated by the commander of winds himself. I've done nothing but hold myself in the shape of received forms, a kind of abeyance. If I'd been harder, less anxious to be liked, asked my mind to dream a different vessel, asked my 2 hands what world they could fashion. No, I sulked, my arms crossed, my presence becoming an absence where I might have decided brightly to see a prompt, endure a cold hour, arrive at steady breath, ask my 2 hands to take up their work, store a secret of persistence, fashion a container for worlds to come. What I cherished, I held in suspense, never asking my 2 hands to stretch a canvas, stitch a conveyor, strike a match, weld and solder, press water from pulped fiber, attune myself in case of a melodic becoming. What is enough for a world? Will time let us hide in the green swaying curtain? Convinced of absence, I fashion a subsistence. I precipitate a ghair. Unknown painter, manuscripts are difficult. You knew your Zuleika would have a turbulent future. That instinct for preservation, was it for your sake or ours? Your skill is a Shiraza. Look at me, binding what's left of my world with your thread. Thank you so much. Is it okay if I take a photo of this audience? Yes. Oh, yes. I'm not going to fit everyone. Oh, yay. Thanks so much to Spencer for the technical support.
So the last time I hosted, I introduced Bill, but Bill came at us virtually. So today, I'm very grateful that he's in the room, especially from a Lunarian to a Venusian. We're both bright, though positions change due to our orbits. I heard from a friend how you're more likely to dream of texts or words if you are a writer or have some kind of preoccupation with text, which I imagine we do in this room. And so with the Book of Lost Passwords 1, I imagine myself dreaming, kind of fever dream. Object permanence in dreams is very shaky if it exists at all. Thus, if an object has properties in one frame and you look away, there's a strong chance the properties will be different or aren't there anymore. So-called dream reading is heavily affected by this because in actuality, the brain is really doing more writing than reading. The illusion of dream reading is really not reading, but just a very interesting way of the brain revealing information to itself. So I might too, like Bill, need a new brain. Welcome, Bill.
Pleasure it is to be here tonight. It's so beautiful here. All the readers so wonderful. I'm honored to be here. Just want to... Excellent. It all may work. Has anyone here ever had lesions in your mouth and on your tongue? It's amazing. I'm so glad they're almost all gone. I was on massive antibiotics, and shubba shubba lubba buffa. Oh, the wind is changing everything. Oh, the wind is changing everything. Bushibili baba, bushka, bushili. Oh, wind is changing everything. The wind is changing everything. Ride with me now, no fear. Oh, ride with me now, no fear. Ha ha ha. This is the book I always wanted to write. Why? Yes, the enigma of stardust, of miners coming up for air, the enigma of a new day, the enigma of time and space, the harmonies of all the planetary bodies, and the enigma of many radiators with wings hurtling themselves through the amazing wind tunnels, singing their awesome hit, The Gift of Gravity, and their ever recent song, There's spaghetti in the fridge, don't you? The alphabets of our beings, days and nights, retrieve us, conceive us, recreate us, row, guide, and steer us, enlarge us, diminish us, find shelter, and recuse, relieve, spin, resilience, clasp each other in hopeful embrace, the pineal mysterious. And as the music and letters change, so are we. Sometimes carrying what we can or nothing as we go. Our mouths sucking in a secret, deep breath, and we can, like the oyster in the dream, harsh and melting soft, the sounds from the letters, as much as to say, all gone, and the seeming parameter still. And the seeming demons all gone, and the seeming Shababa parameters and move. The pineapple and the sudden glance, swallow and the promise. The letters, the alphabets in the gestalt, stalling and paralyzing. The initiative, the measurement of alacrity. Who can? The living alpha, a bet on it, rises. And the living whoosha, whoosha, the shaky off the shackles. The reins go. Only we can hold. The belief is. Bet on it. All the letters, pictographic, or where we are, refining the sounds like alphabet betting, sigh and smile. You're home, wherever it is. The alphabets cajole and conjure us in. Remember the thrill when we first took off someone else's underwear? Yelled at me on Jarvis Street. Hey, cripple, do you think you'll cross the street before you're hit by a car? There's a pause. People are gathering, leaning in. Hey, asshole, I yell. Oat, how long do you think you'll have your tongue? People clap. I think it's the return of street theater. We only want to sit and lay down and stand on the moon and watch and feel the thawings of the moon's reflected beauty to us, the gift of its energy to us, and without taking resources from the moon. That greed and close friend writes me, and all the moon spells for everyone, and a guaranteed minimum income for everyone deserves it, don't you think? Bob Hogue, a minimalist before there was minimalism. One word considered at a time, one breath at a time. Poet, farmer, the land, earth in our hands, the soil, gesture, how we make poems, speech, palate, voice box, lungs, tongue, and lips shape each word. Bob, cancer, survivor, now he can talk, say, cancer of the tongue, say, poet, hero. A little while before he went to spirit, Bob wrote me saying, before you set forth, I hope you feel as good as I do now. This excellent person, K.D. Darcy Taylor, was driving me away from a reading I had done in Prince George. From the reading and the afterwards, and all the people were great, and Barry McKinnon was there, and outside after that we talked. Darcy was still driving. I asked her, she took me back to the motel she was taking me to. I started from, could we drive back? I asked her. I forgot to tell Barry something. We circled back, and Barry was looking up at the sky. Some other people were there, and they also were looking up at the sky. And Darcy laid on the brakes. I get out, go over and hug Barry and tell him, Barry, I love you, just so you know. And he said, Bill, I love you. Over many years, he was always so kind and true and loving. That was some years before the pandemic. And deep in the live memory cluster, a standout time with a standout person. We are Teflon, Hushalahabishi. We are Teflon, we cannot be burned. Hushalahayaki, Hushababa, Hushababa. We are angels on the run. 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 You know, we are angels on the run. Close your eyes and see all the trees in the star banks, ventricles, branches stretched out so strong, poised against a big city night skyline. We are angels on the run. A dream soldered into schemes. The rivers, the lips, the open lips of rivers worldwide, everywhere. Say to us, come nearer, come inside, and we go. Let us in. Will you let us in? We transpire, we fly into the volcano through fire and ice. Ayuki Shimidibba, Hoishala, Hobashilimba, Hushilimba, Hushababa, Shidi, we are our dreams, the waters, and we are lifting now, we are transpiring, we fly through the iridescent breeze, through the many sighs of everyone moaning for what they're not getting, what they're not living for, what needs to come. We all need to love each other is all we need to do. We are angels on the run. There's just one more here, and I'm so thirsty. Are you so thirsty? Where did I put that amazing club soda? There it is. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Yeah? Okay. Oh, thank you. No, it's good. All the blessings. Thank you so much. Genius. We drove through the night. We drove through the skies. We drove through all the clouds forming, rain pouring over all of us. And I said to someone, I do counseling at the Secret Handshake. It's hard to believe, but I do. And I'm also the treasurer and secretary. That's also hard to believe, but I do. And oh, thank you. So this poem came up because a number of people, etc., and conversations and so on, and it produced kind of this poem. What is it? Is it the everything? Whoa. What is it? Is it the everything? Whoa. It's getting me a bit down to some mornings as well. Longer to rise above the pandemic peccadillos and tragedies, and the right wing who don't understand the progressive nature, evolutionary being of her story, and all our needs for more equity. The reactionary elite doesn't want more equality. To go backwards, they want backwards all the time, and taking us with them. We can't go there. We go forward. Touch each other, and sing. The huge mountain. There's a hooshala, reassuring, heavy, pelting sound. The beauty of a lot deferred. The arrangement of Venus with Mercury, a better link than previous gravity-based dynamic. Are we going on through it? Nap, Pannon, reawakening, a sigh, reawakening, a bee, hooshala, and shula. Sometimes through a tiny town in the Pyrenees, where the bell, ringing at dawn, had reached the zenith of archipelagos and mysterious, the disappearing marzipan maker. Was she a light creeping caution? Was she along the shore and gauging whether the clamber up a cliff is possible? Only inside. falling, a describable income. But we should really can you write in? Can you dream in? Can you send in? Can you kiss in? Can you love in? Oh, Shili, can you further in? Phallus, describing, oh, Shili, the luck. And Baba, is a rib skin, a scribble, I wish a little bit about a ricker, wish about a babush, the bells stopping. Another, starting again. Oh, Shababa, Baba, a Bishkaliba. Reasoning after the palaver. A Daska Bushili Blue, are you too? Rounding this way, rounding this say, rounding this touch, rounding this, giving I may nowhere to stay. There will be soon. You are a luaroo, Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Yes, it's a good place for it. Yeah, thank you. Excellent. What a beautiful night to be part of. Thank you again very much.